Hi, in this video, we're going to be going over how to figure out what the asymptote is of an exponential function. It's pretty easy once you know what you're looking for, but I don't want to just tell you what to look for. I want us to explore together for a moment. All right, so here we have an exponential function, y equals 2 to the x. We know it's an exponential function because there is a variable in the exponent. And so if you know anything at all about exponential functions, you probably know that an exponential function has something called an asymptote. All right, let's draw this function. Let's talk about what the asymptote is, and then let's keep going from there. All right, so the easiest way to be comfortable with these functions initially is to draw a t-chart or make a t-chart in which you're exploring what happens with different x values. So let's look at what happens with these x values. -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. And this might be something you've already done, so I'm not going to take a long time. I'm just going to briefly go through and figure out what the y values are here. So let's start off with a really easy one. 2 to the 0 power is just 1. So we know the y value here is 1. 2 to the power of 1 is just 2. 2 to the power of 2 is 4. And 2 to the power of 3 is 8. All right. So we don't need to show our work right now. We just wanted those values. All right. And up top, this is 1 over 2, 1 over 4, and I'm assuming this may be review for you. If I'm going too fast, I'll put a link to another video below that you can slowly go through how I came up with those values. All right, so now that you know the values, now we can sketch the graph. All right, so here we have our y-axis and our x-axis, and this is going to be an extremely rough sketch. 1, 2, and 3. 1, -1, -2, and -3. All right, 0 goes with 1. Let's use a different color. 1 goes with 2 up here. 2 goes with 4. So maybe about right here. And so, yeah, let's number these to make it easier. There we go. And 3 goes with 8, so up here. And then we have the fractions. We have a half, we have a quarter, and we have an eighth. So as you can see, it is getting very, very close to the close to the x-axis, but it's not going to touch it. All right, so here we have our exponential function. And as you can see, our exponential function is getting infinitely close to the x-axis, but not touching it. Now, you may recall from when you studied linear functions that a horizontal line, well, in particular, this horizontal line is y equals 0. The x-axis is y equals 0 because everywhere on the x-axis, y is equal to 0. And you may also recall that every horizontal line has equation y equals something. So, for example, y equals 1 would be a line, I'll erase it, but y equals 1 would be a line right here. Y equals 2 would be a line above it. Y equals 3 would be a line above that. Okay, so now that you remember about horizontal line equations, now we are ready to take this one step further. We have a graph here, and the asymptote of this graph is y equals 0. The reason for that is because the graph is approaching the line y equals 0 but not touching it. So that's what an asymptote is. An asymptote is a line that our graph approaches but does not touch it and does not cross over it. All right, so how about if we had an equation y equals 2 to the x, oops, that's supposed to be little, 2 to the x plus 1. What would happen then? All right, so some of you may instantly see this. Some of you may take a little longer to see it. So I'm not going to show you right away. I'm just going to show you the values, and I'm sure it will magically come to you. So -3. I already did the work for this part, right? So now all I have to do is add 1 to figure out that this is 1 and 1/8. Everything is going to be 1 more than the values that we got here. So we can go ahead and do all of them, but I don't think I can get all to fit, but I'll do what I can. That was 1/4, so this will be 1 and 1/4. Oops, -1. That was a half, so this would be 1 and a half. Please excuse the horrible handwriting. This was 0. Sorry, for 0 that was 1, so that here will be 2. This was 2, so that will be 3. Again, because we already know this part, we just have to add 1 to each of the answers. Now, what that does is it takes everything in the graph that we just drew, and I'll draw a new graph in a different color. It takes everything in the graph we just drew, and I'll do it in black this time, and it moves everything up 1. So that was at 8, now it will be at 9. That was at 4, now it will be at 5. That was at 2, now it will be at 3, so on and so forth. So as you can see, now, since everything is 1 spot higher, what else is 1 spot higher? Or 1 unit higher? If you said the asymptote, you are absolutely correct. So because we added 1 here, the asymptote moved up to 1. So now we can figure out a certain rule here. The number that is added or subtracted to that expression with the variable will tell us what the asymptote is. So, and that is true for every exponential function. Let's go over some examples quickly with that rule without drawing the graph, just to make sure you have it down. Okay, so here are some examples. We've actually done 2 of them already, but I did want to reiterate the point that we made earlier, or the points that we made earlier. So in this one here, nothing is added to our expression with the variable as its exponent, which tells us that since nothing is added, literally nothing is added, and so the asymptote is y equals 0. However, in this one here, our expression with the variable is over here, and we have +1. And so this tells us our asymptote, and so our asymptote is y equals And notice I'm saying y equals, and that's super important because the asymptote is not just a dot, it's not just a number. It is a line. It's a horizontal line, and a horizontal line is described with y equals, as we discussed earlier. All right, so in this one, the third one, the asymptote is y equals 4. Again, because that's the part that's added on to the expression with the variable. Now in this one I tried to trick you. Let's see if that worked. Hopefully it didn't work. So the variable, the expression with the variable is over here this time on the right side, and this is the number that tells you the asymptote. So the asymptote is y equals -1. And again, I tried to trick you one last time to make sure that you are confident leaving this video that you completely understand this. So here we have the expression with the variable, and nothing is added to it. Notice, even though there is a +1 here, it is a part of the exponent, so that does not tell us the asymptote. This thing that's added on, or well, this nothing that's added on, is what tells us the asymptote. So the asymptote here is y equals 0. All right, hopefully you're all set with asymptotes.